Okay. All right. Well, maybe. Sorry, I thought something was weird with my camera. It looks like my Wi-Fi is not that great. Okay. Okay. Welcome. Okay, so I just shared the chat. Since we're just now live, I'm going to go ahead and share that we're live, and then in a minute we can get going. So this is the very first. I might look like it though. Um, but we've just moved in. This is the only couple boxes I could find to put weekend. Okay, copying link. All right. Okay. Okay, so I've just posted that to Instagram. So while I'm waiting on a few more people to pop on, um, we did move. So we didn't move too far. We actually just moved from one side of the city to the other, so that we could have a little bit more space. Really, we wanted an extra room, and the room we're in right now is that extra room. So um, all these bookshelves actually go way down this wall. And there are some other books on that side. So half of the stuff that I unpacked went over there. But this is my main bookshelf and workspace now. So we're still getting set up. If there are any weird bumps and creaks that you hear, it's because I think there might be a bunch of squirrels or something that either live on top of the roof or run around up there, because every now and then I hear what sound like footsteps in the house. So there's either squirrels on the roof or we may be haunted. Who knows? Not that I believe in that stuff, but if you don't know who I am, I'm Amy Prokopis. I have been a teacher. I'm a school counselor. I like distance running. I run half marathons, hopefully soon a marathon. And I am the author of The Arena, which is a young adult sci-fi novel, and it comes out on January 31st of 2022. So coming up very soon. I'm getting all prepped and ready. Hopefully, we'll have that available for pre-order for all of you soon. The Arena is about Kenna and Kieran. So just to give you the summary, Kenna Riley is Alderian, but no one but her adoptive father knows, and no one else can. All she wants is to escape poverty in her village. All that changes when her identity is outed. She's branded a terrorist and is sentenced to death in the arena. Kieran Grace wants to leave the capital of Galaterra and get as far away from his father as he can. After speaking out against the war with the Alderians one too many times, he's ordered to go live up to his family's legacy by killing an Alderian in the arena. Together, they do something no one else has: escape the arena and learn a Galaterran secret along the way. In their search for help from the Alderians, they find adventure and opportunity that they never thought they would be allowed. It makes their mission even more dangerous. Despite fighting together, They both must decide what is worth sacrificing alone. So it is a book about falling in love and finding your own way, making decisions for yourself, and finding your voice, especially when maybe you didn't have the chance to voice your opinions before. So it's a lot about growth, which are things that I really like to study and look at. I mean, I'm a school counselor, so I see a lot of that as students grow from one place to the next. So it makes sense that I wrote a book all about people growing and developing their skills. So that's the arena. And recently, just a couple weeks ago, I released the prologue on my website. So all of my little tidbits and sneak peeks go there first. So if you don't follow me on my website, make sure that you follow my Instagram so you can get all the updates when I do push all that out. So some of you may already have read the prologue because I did put it up there a couple weeks ago first. So you already know my big secret. But if you don't, the big secret is that there is no prologue. There used to be, though. So when I first wrote the arena, I took a chance and I did a lot of things with this book, a lot of experimenting. And I decided I wanted to try out writing a little different. And I'd never written a prologue in any of my books before. So I thought, since there's all this backstory, we're on a whole different planet from Earth. It looks very different than what a lot of Earth looks like, or at least where I live here on Earth. And so I thought, well, let's try out a prologue and write a little tidbit about some of the things you might need to know before you get dropped in this world. And so I wrote it, and it's not very long. And when I was doing my big edit with my editor a couple months ago, she and I discussed that prologues are not actually really popular with like publishers and publishing houses and agents. They don't often like them. They have a little bit of a bias against them. There can be like a real need for a prologue in fantasy, especially, and in sci-fi. Sometimes it can come in handy to have that, but a lot of prologues will turn people off immediately. And a lot of what they do is explain things. It's not really showing you any action, showing you the scenes. A lot of times it's just expose, just explicitly telling you all of the information. And that's not very interesting. No one, I mean, it's like if you watch a movie and the very beginning of the movie is the main character explaining all their likes and interests, you might tune out. You'd much rather see them, painting that picture they like to do rather than telling you they like to create things. It's much more interesting. So we decided to pull it out and remove it. But because I really like behind the scenes involving like anything creative, I really like to go and look up the fun facts and watch the behind the scenes of movies after they've been made. It's one of my favorite parts. It kind of is the cherry on top of the whole experience. So because I like to do that, I thought, I'm just going to share this so everyone else can see what this used to look like. So this is the prologue for the arena, and I had to pull it up on my website. So it's over here. I'll be scrolling through it. So here's the prologue. Alderia is mostly one giant desert before it thickens into the red dirt and clay of the plains. To the east of that, it gets greener. It's humid closer to the East Sea and looks almost identical to Hawaii on Earth. I've never been east. I've only ever been to the sand-covered capital, Galaterra City, once before when Jacob got his license to forge weapons for the country's army. Other than that, I've lived my entire life in the plains. There were natives here once. They lived in our villages and built our capital, but they are gone now. When Earth started growing more and more polluted, though it was before many started choking on its air, a mission was launched to find a new planet. Alderia was the closest that had an environment to Earth's, although it never gets colder than 70 degrees here. The Alderians tried to steal our technology and claimed that there weren't enough resources to share between our people. They destroyed many of our settlements and our technology centers, making it difficult to survive in the early days. When we started to mine the land for the blue stones, they called Eda stones, the war broke out between us. The fighting went on the first year at a stalemate. We didn't start the bombings until it was clear we couldn't live on Earth much longer. Those who were able to leave Earth had everything to lose in the fight for our new home. So, the Alderians were pushed back to the east before finally surrendering. An agreement was made. The Alderians would remain in the East Sea and never step foot on the mainland again. Spies have been captured in the days since, but no Alderians remain in what used to be their home. At least, not any that are known to the Galataran government. I'm sure there are still Alderians among us. There must be, because I can't be the only one. So that's the prologue. And it used to be in the book. I pulled it out, so it's not in the book anymore. There's a little taste of some of the scenery, a little bit of the characters. This book is told primarily from Kenna's viewpoint. There are also some snippets from Kieran's, but you probably won't get much of a taste of that until the book actually comes out. So that's the entire prologue. So I did say this was more of a question and answer kind of a video for everything about the arena, all of the preliminaries, things going into it that you might need to know building up to the release in January. So I asked on my Instagram and I believe on Facebook, I asked in a couple different places for questions that you might have about the book, about me, everything writing related even. And I got quite a few questions back, but I picked some of the most common ones. So I picked the ones I got the most often. So the list is actually a little bit shorter than the actual number of comments I got. So if I don't answer your question, I'm sorry. Hopefully I can answer a version of it. If not, reach out to me on Instagram, or you can leave a comment here in the video afterwards, and I will answer that for you. I'm usually pretty good about reaching out. Talking with readers of any books, not just my books, but readers in general is one of my favorite things to do. So the first question, and the one that I got the most, was what inspired this book? So that's kind of a complicated one because this book started out in a bit of a different form, I think 2 years ago. It's one that has been on my writing shelf for quite a long time. Most of the characters were all in there, all the same, but the plot and the major villains, I think, shifted a little bit based on what actually inspired this version, which is the video called The Arena, so the same name, by Lindsay Sterling, the violinist. In her video, it's kind of a steampunk style. They're in sort of this red earth backdrop. It looks like sort of a desert, and you get these two characters. You have her and you have this man played by Derek Hoff, and they all enter this arena and they start dancing together. And I thought, wow, I guess dancing kind of is like fighting, is at least when it's choreographed. It's all put together in its own way, kind of beautiful, but still really destructive. And I thought, well, what if something beautiful could come out of something destructive, like a fight or something in like a Colosseum kind of setting? And that's where this idea for the arena came, taking those original characters that I had that were in a really similar setting to her video. And then I just dropped them in with the main idea of a fight in the arena. And that's where it came from. So the big spark in the book happens when both main characters are in the arena together, supposed to be a fight to the death, and they rebel and decide, sometimes I get them. The next one says, I hear a lot of authors use their own experiences to develop their stories. Is that something you've involved with this story or character development? When I first got this question, my answer was a bit more on the no side. What they experience is very different than what I do every day as a school counselor. I mean, I'm not going into work thinking maybe I'm going to fight to the death. That's not something normal for me. But as this story grew and morphed, and the characters did, and their relationships with each other, especially with Kenna and Kieran, yes, actually, I found myself referring back to my own relationship. Things just kind of fit together perfectly. And suddenly it was like we had known each other for years when it had only been a couple of months. So I did go back to that. And I think how we fit together really helped to inform the really quick romance that blossoms between Kenna and Kieran. So, and yeah, I do use my own experiences, even though the setting and the plot is not at all something that I experience. I think we all experience a lot of the same emotions that we read about in books, and that's what makes them enticing to us and familiar. So we all have a frame of reference for I think just about every book we ever read. It may just not be that we're all, I don't know, in we're not in outer space, but that doesn't mean that some of the issues that they're all coming across or feelings they have aren't relatable. The next question is this part of a larger series? I've gotten this one a whole lot. Um, I wrote the arena when I was as a kind of an experiment. I started writing this draft last fall, I believe, late in the fall. I think it was November, and it came together extremely quick because I had time due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wrote a lot of it in November because in November the school I worked at went virtual, and so we were all at home, and in between helping students and working with them, I was able to do a lot of my writing. My class size was really small due to what I taught that year, which is not at all a normal thing for teachers. And if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have been able to complete this through the winter like I did. So this started as a standalone. I wrote it because typically what I do write is series. I like to write really long, in-depth stories with lots of backstory. I want all the characters to have these well-developed backgrounds, and I do that best when I write a series. And so I wrote this one just to try my hand at writing a standalone, and it did not quite go that direction. The first draft of it was very much a standalone. And then after talking with my editor, again, wonderful editor that she is, she brought out some things that I could develop more because they were really interesting. In particular, the device, which you learn about within chapter 1. So in chapter 1, Kenna is graduating from school, and when most students graduate from school in this world, they get what's called the device, which is similar to like an Apple Watch. It has the same communication functions. You can work from them, those kinds of everything technology is embedded in this one thing, except you use what's called thought technology in order to access it. So instead of having to push buttons and things on a cell phone, it's attached behind your ear in that little space, and you can use your thoughts to access the communication tools within it. And she thought it was a really cool thing that was included in this world that I could have explained a whole lot more. And it just didn't fit into the plot of this book. And so I thought of ways to expand it. So yes, the arena actually is 2 books. I think there will be a sequel to this that I've already started working on. I'm actually a couple chapters into it and have drafted out pretty much the entire plot for the book. So yeah, you can expect a second book to the arena. And that should be it. Just the 2. And I don't know that I'll explore this setting again of Alderia. Maybe I'll come back to this planet in a different sense, but I don't think it'll be with Kenna and Kieran again. The next question is, what is the biggest challenge you've faced as a newly published to readers? That's been really difficult. I have a pretty good amount of friends online that also read and write. So I do have people helping me out. I have a lot of people on my team helping me get this published, from everything from the art of like my cover, concept art included. But for the most part, I'm doing it all myself. And that has been the biggest challenge, is getting all of it done myself, and having never done it before. Don't know where I'm going wrong as I pursue self-publishing. So I'm having to learn a lot as I go. I've researched the world of publishing books since I was probably 18. So I've learned all about traditional routes, self-publishing routes. The last 3 years, I've really focused on self-publishing. I studied a lot of things there, how people are able to do it successfully, how one person does it differently than the other and is still sees success. It's been a whole journey. So I think just not knowing what to expect has been the biggest challenge. I have a long list of things that I plan to do differently with the next book, though. The next one, how do you think publishing your first book will change your writing process? So I outline more now than I used to. I've always been sort of a pantser. I write just freely. I don't plan a whole lot as I go. And then at one point, as I started this process, I would plan a little bit and free write from there. And now with this next book, I am spending a whole lot more time in the planning process, in drafting out a good plot and making sure I have my steps all the way through the book first. It's not something supernatural to me, just because I don't typically do that. But I've found in the process of getting the arena published that it made things a whole lot easier just to sit and think on the plot and characters just a little bit longer before I jump in and write. And so that's been a really difficult thing for me, because writing is really fun, and getting to speak through your characters and put them in scenes together is by far the best part. So the next question, once you come up with the outline for the book, how often do you stick to it? Most of the time. I'm usually pretty good at sticking to my plot. I can always guarantee that the first, middle, and end of the book is always the same. That never changes. The character arcs sometimes change a little bit. It's amazing how I might think I have my main character all figured out, and then I put her in a scene with someone else, and suddenly she acts differently than I thought. So usually it stays the same. Do you enjoy writing protagonists or antagonists? I like the baddies. I really like writing bad guys. So villains are fun because they're usually really layered. Their motivation is really fun to delve into, because that comes from a lot of times a really deep psychological point, and my background in counseling really comes through there. So it's a way that I can delve into the inner workings of a character in sort of a dark way. That's kind of fun. How do you select the names of your characters? Um, a lot of places. Sometimes baby name books. Sometimes I'll look up meanings of words or names. So a variety of places. And describe your writing space. Right now, this is my writing space. I wrote the arena in a lot of different places, though. I wrote it at home on the couch. Some at my desk that I had for myself during virtual learning. I used that sometimes, but that since has kind of moved and not come back. So really, this space behind me is where I plan on working from the most, or on the couch. I like to be comfortable when I write. So It's just me, my laptop, and usually a cup of coffee. And the last question is, what is the last word in the arena? I thought that was a really fun question. So I went and looked, and the very last word in the arena is yes. Okay, so that gets us to the end of all the questions. There were a whole bunch and some other ones that I didn't include that I would love to answer. So I don't know, maybe we'll have another one of these soon, maybe just not for the arena. But some things that you might want to be on the lookout for. Unfortunately, I had an issue getting an author photo and my cover design quite lined up. So the dates were off. So I'm waiting on my cover to come back to me with the final draft of it. Once I get that, I'll attach it to the final version of the book and I can push that out for pre-order. I was hoping I could have that done by the end of November, but now it's looking more like a couple weeks into December. So be on the lookout. You should be able to pre-order the arena very soon. If not, you can purchase it when it is available to everybody. The ebook, paperback, and hardcover, you can get those on January 31st. Hopefully, just about any retailer you prefer to buy books from. So it'll be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of those great places, and hopefully in bookstores. And if it's not, ask your local bookstore if they can stock it because they should be able to. And the next step before January is my ARC team. So ARC or ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copy. Before books officially go out on the shelves, they always do a kind of a test run. So they'll print the book, which should be a final-ish version, and they'll send that out to people to read. They'll find all the mistakes, all the little funky things, and we'll send feedback to the author and their team, and they can fix it before the official date the book releases. So if you want to be a part of my ARC team and read an advanced copy of my book, I will have a submission form available very soon. So when it comes to any book, there's not usually very many copies of advanced reader copies of the book. There's not usually very many of them available. So it's sort of an exclusive thing. The book doesn't stay in that form. It usually changes to a final draft. So you're getting an early draft of the book. So if that's interesting to you, you keep looking at my website and follow me on Instagram because I will be posting very soon how you can be a part of that team. So I think that's pretty much it. I didn't know how long this would be. Hopefully, some of you stuck around and got a lot out of this, thought it was really fun. And I'll talk to you guys on another time. So, bye.